One of the biggest new things has just happened in the canon Dragon Ball world, and it's with the fact that Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta is now officially a thing in Dragon Ball, outside of Dragon Ball Heroes, Raging Blast, and some other games. So for context, Dragon Ball DAIMA is obviously an ongoing anime. I've been kind of casually following it and watching it, enjoying the series, and obviously, if you've been paying attention, then Vegeta is the one who's been fighting Tamagami 2. And when we go into the episode, it basically consists of Vegeta having a pretty even battle with Tamagami at first, but then, the Tamagami is attacking him, and then the Kraken is attacking him, and Vegeta has to pretty much fight off against two opponents at once. And then eventually we get to a point where Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan 2 and begins having a much more competitive battle, and probably even outright overpowering Tamagami 2. To where the Namek, I forgot his name, pretty much either limit breaks Tamagami 2 or gives him additional power outside of what he already had. And when he did that, then Tamagami 2 started pretty much dominating Vegeta. There was a point where Tamagami 2 looked like he got Vegeta in some kind of chokehold, or basically just grabbed him and then used a blast and then pretty much knocked Vegeta out of his Super Saiyan 2 form. And at that point, you would think that, Vegeta is either down for the count or is probably, heavily injured. But obviously that's not the case, because what happens next is Vegeta stops holding back. He just gets up. It actually doesn't even look like he's like in any real danger. And then he begins transforming from a Super Saiyan 2, and then goes straight into Super Saiyan 3, with Goku, of course, looking surprised. And apparently in the video that I watched, Vegeta's just been doing some heavy training by himself. Anyway, from that point on, we see Vegeta's transformation, him dominating Tamagami 2, along with breaking Tamagami 2's sword, and then using the Gallic gun at one point, giving him a big punch, and then putting his hand on Tamagami 2's shoulder. That's just a very brief summary. If you want to watch the full episode, then it's on Crunchyroll and you can watch it there. And yeah, that's pretty much it, because to me, like when I try and use my memory, I didn't really see any indication that Vegeta could use Super Saiyan 3 in Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, or Dragon Ball Super in general. Although technically you can argue that he didn't really need it. It begs the question, is Dragon Ball DAIMA an official prequel to Dragon Ball Super? I mean, yeah, I know we saw the Supreme Kais from Dragon Ball Super, but a way they can make it work is that, Vegeta technically had Super Saiyan 3, but didn't really need it, or didn't really see its use, especially when his Super Saiyan 2 form was already strong enough in Battle of Gods, and Super Saiyan 3 pretty much drains your energy, and it's a very rough form for characters to have. And then after Battle of Gods, they had the God forms, and they pretty much didn't need it. So my personal opinion is that Dragon Ball DAIMA doesn't necessarily completely contradict Dragon Ball Super or the Dragon Ball Z movies in general, just because they could still kind of loosely tie it in and just feel like they just don't want Vegeta to transform. At the moment, we don't really have an extended preview of Dragon Ball DAIMA episode 13, except the current main antagonists of the show, and as well as Goku and Vegeta having surprise faces. But yeah, DAIMA episode 13 is called Surprise and will be releasing on January 10th, so there will be a break next week. Personally, I enjoy the anime. I like it so far. I've kind of been avoiding spoilers, but unfortunately, it's also one of those things where it's kind of inevitable. It's like people spoil it, and I try to avoid it, but sometimes it just can't happen. With that out of the way, let's talk about how this relates to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So if you can't remember, we actually had a trailer for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero DLC2, and let's view it first. So out of the way, we know that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero DLC 2 will have Vegeta Mini. And well, I think it's safe to assume that Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta will be part of DLC 2. Because let's think about it. Vegeta Super Saiyan 3 has been revealed. It's December. This gives them more than enough time for them to actually include Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and kind of like pretty much market it. In fact, it's the perfect thing, you know, for people who are kind of like, you know, hesitant on Dragon Ball Daima, then they see stuff like, oh, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Okay, nice. And it could happen. It can happen, especially because DLC 1 apparently is going to be having a lot of characters already. Now, we don't really know who else is going to be a part of DLC 2 aside from Glorio, but I think it's safe to assume that Goku, Super Saiyan 1 and 2 Mini from Dragon Ball Daima, maybe even Pansy, who knows, will be part of DLC 2. Let's look into the release window. Now, this is from the Steam page, and this is as official as it gets. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero DLC 1 is apparently supposed to be coming from January to March 2025. And that's with the Dragon Ball Super superhero characters. For the Dragon Ball Daima characters, then it's actually slated for January to March 2025. So I think that Vegeta Mini, and as well as the Super Saiyan forms up to Super Saiyan 3, will come right around February to March. As for the specific date, who really knows, but just because they already have Vegeta Mini as a character, including his base form, then why not include a Super Saiyan, all of his Super Saiyan versions, including the Super Saiyan 3, to further market it? Plus, we're already seeing like Dragon Ball Legends added in Super Saiyan Mini Goku very shortly after his episode came out. As for Part 3, honestly, at this point, DLC 3, that's kind of anyone's guess. All we know is that it will still contain playable characters from Dragon Ball Daima. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Episode 12 of Dragon Ball Daima gave us a lot of developments, or at least further developments in the story. From Majin being able to beat Tamagami 1, if I recall, along with Vegeta transforming into a Super Saiyan 3, and then them going into further adventures. What I personally predict is going to happen is that Goma is probably going to really take part in the story more in terms of like, I don't know, maybe try to get his own Majin, or probably try to interfere. He's kind of in a position where, you know, Goku and Ko already have the Dragon Balls, as well as that woman who also got the Dragon Ball due to Majin. Even though Dragon Ball Daima is not Dragon Ball Super, you know, a lot of people like the anime, including me. In fact, to many people, Dragon Ball Daima is preferable to Dragon Ball Super, especially in terms of animation, because when Dragon Ball Super first came out, it did not look good. And now they spent a lot of time with Dragon Ball Daima, and initially a lot of the early complaints for Dragon Ball Daima was that it wasn't paced well, as well as the fact that Vegeta and Goku and Ko are kids or mini versions of themselves. However, so far in terms of an anime, it's really good. I just hope the stakes keep getting higher and higher, and that we kind of have a more serious villain that gets introduced later on. That's kind of like very evil, because if Majin and Q face off against Goku and Vegeta, I don't really see those two being like the final antagonists. They don't scream like final enemy type bosses to me. King Goma, I don't know. I feel like there might be a new enemy, or they might try to conjure up a new antagonist. Anyway, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all next time.